What's up, everybody? So today what I wanted to talk about is the importance of setting boundaries and how to set boundaries, specifically in the systems in your business, because I don't think that really gets talked about very much. And I personally just went through setting some boundaries with a client. That meant like setting boundaries in communication, setting boundaries in the projects that I'm working on, setting a lot of really healthy boundaries that had not been there from the start. So if you haven't met me before, my name is Ben Green. I'm the owner of optimizeis, and what we do is we help business owners, probably just like you, help you optimize your information systems. That's setting systems up in like communication, project management, and asset management. So that's tools like, for example, Slack, Asana, and Airtable. For just some really quick examples. But if you're interested in any services that we provide, there's links down in the description to learn about what we do for businesses. But what I really want to talk about is setting boundaries. So boundaries can be like a make or break for service businesses. And when dealing with clients, a lot of times this is around communication. I have kind of a framework that I use for internal and external communication and getting to inbox zero and all of that. But there's times when that breaks down and I can seem to get overwhelmed. And that's when it's always when it's like too late is when I need and realize that I should have set boundaries. But what can boundaries look like in the systems in your business, and the like, not on the front end as much, but like on the back end and the service delivery when you're communicating, whether it's with your internal team or with your clients. Because I find that often you can have some strife or some problems with both of those, not just one or the other. So there's really three areas where I see boundaries needed. The first one is in communication. That's like the lowest hanging fruit. Like, don't message me outside of this platform, don't message me outside of these hours, because I won't respond, I won't see it, and you'll probably get frustrated. But you can count on me being in this one place for these hours, and you can count on this response time, and that's where you can find me. So those are some really healthy boundaries to set. I found like that's like usually the lowest hanging fruit. If you're a client of mine, you won't be able to reach me by email. It's all in Slack for myself and for a lot of my clients on what they want to set up is something similar to what I have set up as well. The next one is really for internal teams. So boundaries can look really different depending on like what you're talking about. So imagine for like project management or asset management. A lot of people want to combine the two and manage projects or manage assets like they're managing projects. Like, for example, like tracking the status of a Instagram post in an asset manager, or like tracking like the process of that in like a content calendar, which it can work on smaller scale, things like that. But what I found is setting a boundary to say, these two are different and they should not be happening in the same place. So it's having your communication in a communication tool, having your assets managed in like a asset or resource tool like Airtable is the one that I'm thinking of. That can set some really good boundaries for where people are doing their work. They know if they're wondering what do I need to do today, they go to the project management tool. If they get in the project management tool and they're like, I need to figure out what we're going to post today. Okay, that's in the content calendar and like the asset manager. So setting up boundaries between communication, project management, and assets or resources, that can be huge in answering a question in your employees' minds or in your clients' minds. And the question that I'm referencing here is, if you or anybody is ever asking, where should I be looking for this, or where should I be updating this, or anything really like that, or like where should I be talking about this, then there's something missing in your processes and there's a boundary that hasn't been set. For example, in my Slack channel, I have many different channels for many different purposes. I have like sales channel, I have service delivery channel, maybe you have like marketing, even like niche down from marketing into like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, that kind of stuff. If somebody talks about Facebook in the Instagram channel, like just politely say, hey, this should be in this channel. That way it's easily accessible for everybody who like needs to know about Instagram. Same thing for like if you're talking about operations in a marketing channel. And even more so, what I've been dealing with recently is setting boundaries in larger scale settings, specifically talking about communication. If you don't set boundaries from the start, for example, in like a group coaching program or any really group program where there should be lots of people, if you don't set boundaries there, then what it can look like is very disorganized, and you can be operating a group program, but there might be a ton of messages in the DMs. And when there's a ton of messages in the DMs, then it loses the effect that a group program is supposed to have with the group knowledge and like the mastermind, and like you're missing out on a ton there. So if you can set boundaries from the start, that's the best. The second best is right now. And what I always find is whoever's in charge, so like if you're in charge of your clients, even if you're like a project manager, and you're in charge of communication with all the clients, you're like at the top. It doesn't need to come from your CEO. But if you're the project manager, you can say, this is how we're going to communicate, whether it's on the internal team or with the clients. But ideally, it comes all the way from the top. And a lot of times if you're at the top, you might not know how to make that decision, how to say, like, what are good communication boundaries, what are good, like where should our employees be doing stuff. And that all comes back into like how to scale your team, how to scale team productivity. That way your team is never having to answer those questions. They never have to answer where do I know how to do this? Like, where do I update this? Where do I find what I need to do today? Where do I find who I need to talk to today? Those should never be questions, but it's about setting up the right boundaries to make sure that doesn't happen. So I think I've covered about everything that I wanted to with the boundaries and between communication, project management, and asset and resource management. And if you have any boundaries that you're curious about setting, I'd love to hear them down in the comments section, or you can jump over to Facebook and join the Airtable community and message me. You can message me on Facebook. I'll add a link to my profile down in the description, and you can message me and talk to me about boundaries. So I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it, between boundaries, between this kind of stuff in your business, how you set boundaries. If you found a really productive way to set boundaries on a team. I know I have my strategies and strategies I use with clients on change management and setting boundaries, and a lot of times restructuring what exactly they're doing. But I would love to hear that down in the comments and the DMs. So without further ado, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.